just like the real world, the top 1% of Pokemon get 99% of Game Freak's love. Mega Evolutions are no different, with some being absolutely broken and some being, well, Absol. And that got me thinking. I already did a video on who the best Mega Evolution of all time is, but which Mega is the absolute worst? Just who is the cream of the crap? Well, this video actually ended up being a lot harder than I thought because surprisingly, a lot of Megas are absolute garbage. And before some of you comment that your favorite Mega isn't garbage and how it has feelings too, I'm talking about purely competitive Pokemon here. But for those of you whose favorite Mega is complete trash competitively, I'll at least let you leave this video with some hope. Because for each of the Pokemon in contention for the worst of all time, I'll share how they could potentially one day be viable competitively too, if Megas do ultimately return next generation. Alright, first up is Mega Mewtwo X. While you may have been able to beat your cousin Timmy with it, in official tournaments, Mewtwo was somehow better off not even Mega Evolving rather than turning into this thing. Look, it's not as bad as you think, is what I want to say, but I'm starting from least bad and working my way up. Least is really carrying a lot of weight though. I narrowed it down to 5 Megas that are incredibly bad, but not the absolute worst, and then I'll present to you the 3 saddest excuses for Mega Evolution ever. Anyway, despite being a legendary Pokemon that has literally the highest stats in the entire game, Mega Mewtwo X's official tournament results page looks like this. There are a lot of places we could start, but I guess let's start with the typing. Psychic and Fighting is actually a pretty good offensive combination, definitely better than the pure Psychic typing of regular Mewtwo. Steel and Dark types that can easily take Mewtwo's Psychic type moves are both weak to Fighting. In fact, we've already seen this exact type combination work really well for Gallade. The problem is that unlike Gallade, who learns completely different moves than his special attacking sister, Mega Mewtwo X has the same move pool as Mewtwo, who for the first 5 generations was built to be exclusively a special attacker. Mewtwo's signature move, Psystrike, is a special attack. All of the strong coverage moves it learns, Aura Sphere, Ice Beam, Flamethrower, they're all special attacks. Its best physical fighting and Psychic type moves are Drain Punch and Psycho Cut, which are both really weak, or Low Kick and Zen Headbutt, which are both unreliable. The other thing holding Mega Mewtwo X back is its ability. Gallade has the ability Sharpness, which boosts its damage by a massive 50%, and because it's not a Mega, it's free to hold the Clear Amulet to prevent Intimidate as well. Mega Mewtwo X though gets Steadfast, not even Inner Focus, which both prevents flinching and Intimidate, but Steadfast? For Mega Mewtwo X to ever become somewhat viable, it needs Game Freak to do 2 things. First, it needs Inner Focus instead of Steadfast. That way it has built-in Fake Out and Intimidate protection without needing a separate item to do so. Second, it needs an update to Psystrike to be more like Necrozma's signature move, Photon Geyser. That way, its powerful signature move can be useful no matter which form of Mewtwo players use. Moving on to another legendary, Mega Latios. This is gonna be a theme this video, but using Mega Latios is worse than just using Latios. Not only does Mega Latios have the same typing, the same ability, and the same speed stat, but Mega Latios' higher special attack, well, it still does less damage than Latios holding a Soul do instead. Is it really worth using your 1 Mega Evolution just for slightly higher defenses? Well, considering its results page looks like this, the answer is obviously no. Now, Mega Latios isn't unique here. Every Mega Evolution in this video has an identical results page. Honestly, I could just wrap up this Mega Latios section here, cause there's not much more to be said. But before I move on to how Game Freak could make Mega Latios viable in the future, I need to confess. This whole time, I've been showing you guys Mega Latios' sprite because honestly, who can even tell the difference? Mega Latios was the only one people actually used competitively anyway. If you didn't catch that though, you can make sure you catch my next video by subscribing. Anyway, Mega Latios was actually pretty decent. While it is similar to Latios, the way its stats were distributed was far, far better. See, generally when Pokemon Mega Evolve, they gain an extra 100 base stat points. These 100 points then get distributed as Game Freak sees fit. In Mega Latios' case, it had a whopping 40 of the extra 100 base stat points dumped into its physical attack. It's a special attacker. Latias, on the other hand, only had 20 base stat points going to waste boost in its physical attack. So that left more base stat points to go into stats that actually matter. With high speed, high special attack, and much higher defenses thanks to Mega Evolution, Latios was actually usable as a Calm Mind setup sweeper, even winning a regional level championship. For Latios to become viable too, it needs a redistribution of its stats. While Latios has its niche as an all-around strong setup sweeper, Game Freak should embrace Latios' niche as a fast and frail attacker, and move some of those extra stat points that went into its attack and defenses and put them into speed and special attack instead. But before we get to the next Pokemon, I live in the middle of Tokyo, which means I get to eat amazing Japanese food every day. But don't worry, because even if you're not in Japan, you can experience Japan anywhere thanks to Tokyo Treat and Sakurako. Let's start with this month's Halloween-themed Tokyo Treat box, which if you sign up for a multi-month plan, even comes with some cute and spooky official Pokemon merch. Every box also includes a booklet containing allergy info, as well as some bits about Japanese culture. Now I'm getting hungry just looking at all these, so let's try the apple pie Kit Kats first.
They actually nailed that. That's good.
Okay, Japan does potato chips really well, so let's try these garlic chips next.
These are garlicky, but I love it.
Alright, let's try Sakurako's more traditional style sweets next. Oh, it even comes with a Maneki Neko Furoshiki cloth. Oh yeah, these are perfect for autumn. Let's try this one. It's a pastry in the shape of an autumn leaf, and inside is red bean paste.
These are good. It's sweet, but it's not too sweet.
And they even included some green tea, which would go perfectly with this. So if you've been craving real Japanese snacks, Tokyo Treat and Sakurako have got you covered. Make sure you use the QR code on screen or the links in the description and use code Rizzo for $5 off your first box, or subscribe to Tokyo Treat's multi-month plan to get some official Pokemon goodies. So don't forget to order now with code Rizzo for an extra special Halloween. Thank you Tokyo Treat and Sakurako for sponsoring this video. Next up is Mega Garchomp, who again is weaker than just using regular old Garchomp. What makes Mega Garchomp so bad is actually a combination of what made both Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Latios trash. Let's start with the stats. Garchomp is traditionally a physical attacker, so the fact that Mega Garchomp gained an additional 40 points in its base attack stat is actually really good. However, Mega Garchomp's special attack was equally given an extra 40 base stat points, all of which are completely worthless. Defensively, it's not so bad. Garchomp was originally pretty bulky for a fast offensive Pokemon, and Mega Evolving makes it a bit bulkier. But here's where things get a bit cruel. See, usually Pokemon gain stats by Mega Evolving. Garchomp though, it gets slower when it Mega Evolves. It's hard to explain just how bad that was for it. Extremely common Pokemon that it could previously outspeed and hit for super effective damage. Salamence, Hydreigon, Volcarona, Mega Charizard Y, Thundurus, Zapdos. It no longer could. Another thing holding Mega Garchomp back is its ability. It gets the extremely situational Sand Force. It's not terrible. A 33% boost to your main attacking moves is pretty good, but since it only gets that boost when a Sandstorm is active, it means you need to use Tyranitar alongside it. Whereas regular old Garchomp could be splashed onto just about any team with Tyranitar or not. And just like Mega Mewtwo X, being a physical attacker with no protection from Intimidate makes your life much more difficult. One of the ways Mega Garchomp could be made viable is for Game Freak to actually embrace its massively increased special attack. Instead of gaining 40 base stat points into both attacking stats, dump all 80 into just its special attack, and then salvage its speed stat by taking 10 points from its defenses to return its speed back to where it was. On top of all that, replace Sand Force with Sheer Force, turning it into a mini Landorus that can also beat both Incineroar and Rillaboom without being weak to the water types that usually surround them. Okay, Game Freak really tried their best to make this next Mega viable, and I hate to be a buzzkill here, but Mega Beedrill is just plain bad. I'm starting to feel a bit of sympathy for these third-rate Pokemon, so let's start with some positives first. At least Mega Beedrill's stat distribution was okay. Game Freak reduced Beedrill's special attack down to a minuscule 15 points, allowing them to put as many points as they possibly could into its attack and speed, attempting to make it the ultimate glass cannon. With 145 base speed, it actually manages to keep up with all the track stars released in generations 8 and 9, outspeeding even metagame staples like Dragapult, Chien-Pao, and Fluttermane. On top of that, Mega Beedrill gets the ability Adaptability, increasing the damage of its bug and poison type moves by an additional 33%. U-turns coming from this thing are start kind of like baby's first Miraidon. However, Mega Beedrill still has less total stats than Simisage, Barbaracle, and Copper Jaja. Are these even real Pokemon? I mean, I've never seen anyone use them, and that's Mega Beedrill's big downside. It has great speed and attack, but the rest of its stats are horrible. It gets knocked out by a light breeze, so put your Tornadus back in its Pokeball, cause Beedrill's life is already bleak. Mega Beedrill does at least have a somewhat realistic path to becoming viable in the future. Fans have been clamoring for a buff to bug types in general, and after seeing Game Freak listen to their fans in buffing ice types in Generation 9, come Generation 10, maybe bug types get a similar treatment. Whether it's more resistances, or hitting more types for neutral or super effective damage, maybe they even become immune to powder moves just like grass types are. Or who knows, Game Freak could even go as far as creating a new field effect, like weather or terrains, but one that benefits bug types. The other obvious thing Game Freak could do is to get rid of their arbitrary rule of Mega Evolution increasing a Pokemon's total base stats by exactly 100 points. For some Pokemon like Salamence and Gengar, this rule works, but for Pokemon like Beedrill, its special attack can only go so low to compensate. It really needs closer to 200 extra base stat points to become viable. Which brings us to the final Mega Evolution before we get to our top 3 worst of all time, Mega Aggron, a Pokemon who was somehow even worse than its earliest pre-evolution, Aaron. Mega Aggron has an absolutely massive defense, and its new ability, Filter, makes it a real pain to actually KO. But that's where the positives end. Despite being extremely difficult for physical attackers to knock out, special attackers can dispose of it no problem. It also has trouble actually doing damage, despite its relatively high base 140 attack. Its only good damage dealing move was Heavy Slam, but a single Intimidate alongside any fire, water, electric, or steel type just shuts that down. But there's one move that Mega Aggron never used to have access to, and beginning in Generation 8 it now does. We've seen Zamazenta go from a laughingstock to one of the best restricted legendaries with just a single new move. Well, the same could be the case for Mega Aggron, as it will also now have access to the move Body Press, which is a tremendous buff considering its sky-high defense. What's more, it can also learn Iron Defense, boosting Body Press's damage even higher. Now, its low special defense and lack of any way to restore its own HP will still hold it back, in contrast with something like Hisui and Gudra, but if Game Freak gives Mega Aggron just a couple more base stat points in its special defense, while also giving it a move like Recover, it could very realistically become a viable Mega in Generation 10. Alright, before I present the top 3, I have a few honorable mentions, or I guess in this case, dishonorable mentions first. Mega Sharpedo, which got top 32 at German Nationals one time, Mega Absol and Mega Pinsir, who have both top cut a regional championship, Mega Alakazam, who got top 64 at an international championship, Mega Glalie, which even managed a 12th place finish at a Korean regional level championship, and the abysmal Mega Sableye somehow had a top 4 placement at a regional championship. See, we are really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Mega Sableye, though, came real close to making my actual list, but it had one incredibly unique niche. The way the game decided the order that Pokemon would move used to be completely different. See, back in Generation 6, on the turn Sableye Mega evolved, if it used a non-damaging move, it would still get the increased priority thanks to the Prankster ability it used to have, but it would also get the benefits of its Mega's new Magic Bounce ability on that same turn, preventing the opponent from using things like Taunt to stop it. This was a lot more relevant back then too, because dark types like Sableye weren't immune yet to faster taunts coming from the popular prankster Pokemon, Thundurus, Tornadus, and Whimsicott. Alright, you didn't make it this far because you just wanted to hear about the bad Mega Evolutions. You wanted to hear about the absolute trash. So coming in as the 3rd worst Mega Evolution of all time is Mega Ampharos, a Pokemon that, while it does have a long neck, it just wasn't long enough to actually be good. I'm not even joking. Its problem is that it's worse than Raging Bolt at everything. It has the exact same typing, worse stats, a worse ability, and a worse move pool. I guess let's start with the stats, because that's the first place you might look and think, hey, it has a higher special attack than Raging Bolt. Surely it can do more damage than it. right? But no, it actually doesn't. See, Raging Bolt is usually used one of two ways. First is as a bulky setup sweeper using Calm Mind to increase both its damage and bolt. After a single Calm Mind, Raging Bolt does far more damage than Mega Ampharos can. And can Mega Ampharos even learn Calm Mind? No. It can't. It can't even learn Tail Glow when its Pokedex entry literally says how the light from its tail can be seen from space. And the other way Raging Bolt is used takes advantage of something Mega Ampharos can't even do, holding an item. Raging Bolt is commonly seen with either a Life Orb boosting its damage to a level higher than Mega Ampharos's at the cost of some HP, or with the Booster Energy, which turns on its Photosynthesis ability, giving it the same huge damage boost that Life Orb does, but without the HP cost. Let's move on to Mega Ampharos's move pool, the next huge problem for it. Mega Ampharos has a miserable speed stat, so you know what it would really benefit from? That's right, a move with increased priority, allowing it to move before most opponents. A move like Raging Bolt's signature move, Thunderclap. Okay, but what about in Trick Room? Well, there are just better options. Torkoal, Hatterene, and Blood Moon Ursaluna put out way more special damage, and even other Megas like Mega Mawile can do far more damage than Mega Ampharos ever can. Mega Ampharos can't even learn Draco Meteor as an actual nuke button. So how can Game Freak save Mega Ampharos? Well, first, its stats and typing are actually completely fine in a vacuum. So the first thing it needs Game Freak to do is to vacuum seal Raging Bolt back inside its prehistoric time machine. Next, it needs the same tools Raging Bolt has. Access to either Calm Mind or Tail Glow to boost its damage, as well as an increased priority move like Thunderclap. That way its poor speed stat doesn't hold it back as much. Last, it needs a new ability. Mold Breaker is cute in allowing it to ignore Lightning Rod and Volt Absorb, but they aren't all that common in competitive play. Any ability that boosts its damage would be far more impactful and almost required to make Mega Ampharos viable. And a Mega Evolution that needs even more help than that to become viable is our number 2 worst ever Mega, Pidgeot. Its stats are fine, but nothing to write home about. Its speed stat is good, but when I think of the track stars introduced recently, Pidgeot is more of a star on the JV team. Its special attack is also solid. I mean, it's the same as Fluttermane's, but without a held item or an ability to boost its damage further, it's not amazing. Defensively, it's mediocre as well, and can be KO'd pretty easily. If you ask me to describe Mega Pidgeot in one word, it's meh. It doesn't do anything particularly well, and everything it does decently, other Pokemon can just do it better. There are faster and bulkier Tailwind setters, more powerful special attackers, but the one thing Mega Pidgeot has going for it is its ability, No Guard. This is an extremely rare ability in Pokemon, but potentially really strong. But for Mega Pidgeot, the only move it can take advantage of this ability with is Hurricane, which is good, but it needs more than just that. Mega Pidgeot can learn Heat Wave, so it wouldn't be a total stretch for Game Freak to, in the future, also give it access to the move Inferno, a really strong fire-type move that always burns the opponent, but with the accuracy of a coin flip. This is exactly the type of move you need to make No Guard worthwhile. And before anyone writes us in the comments, let's not give Game Freak any ideas by suggesting it learn one-hit KO moves, or even a move like Hypnosis. We've already seen that they have an affinity for pampering overpowered Pokemon. And speaking of overpowered Pokemon, if you've already seen my video on the best Megas of all time, then you've seen that they're like mini restricted legendaries in terms of power level. So for the same reason you would never use a restricted legend like Cosmog instead of Kyogre, sorry Nebby, you would never even consider using the worst Mega of all time, Mega Audino. But let's start with some positives first. Okay, let's move on to the negatives. Mega Audino is even inferior to plain old Audino. Yeah, believe it or not, regular Audino actually has a top 4 finish under its belt at a 2018 regional championship. Let's start with its ability. Audino has 3 abilities, the best of which being Regenerator, an actual good ability. And like a few other Megas we've talked about, Audino keeps the same ability when Mega Evolving. That's fine, Regenerator is a great ability to keep. Is what you'd think, but out of the 3 abilities, Game Freak decided to have Audino keep Healer upon Mega Evolving. In an ability I've probably never seen actually activate in all my years playing and watching competitive Pokemon. Healer has a 30% chance of healing either itself or its ally Pokemon of any status condition, which doesn't sound like the worst ability if you get lucky, until I bring up Cresselia, a Pokemon with completely better stats even after it got nerfed. Not only does Cresselia do the same kind of support as Mega Audino, Trick Room, Helping Hand, you know, the usual kind of support stuff, but Cresselia also learns a signature move, Lunar Blessing, which does exactly what Mega Audino's healer ability does, just with a 100% chance of curing status conditions. And it even restores both Cresselia and its allies' HP. The same way Raging Bolt outclasses Mega Ampharos, Cresselia is just better at everything than Mega Audino. On top of that, even if you're looking for a Trick Room setter that's not weak to Dark or Ghost, like Cresselia and most Trick Room setters are, then Porygon 2 is also much bulkier than Audino, but can actually do a lot of damage on top of it. Honestly, unlike every other Pokemon I've covered in this video, I can't even think of a way Game Freak could realistically make this thing viable.